It's the Akademiks, and check it out, man, because there's a big misconception that's going on, right? Like, if you don't want to get fucked in your record contract, you go to the independent route. You don't go sign to a major. You keep it small, you keep it tight, you keep the money flowing around people who look like you, okay? Because, of course, people who look like you, they understand you more, they'll probably be less likely to rob you, and in some cases, that's very true. But the game ain't for the weak. When you involve in, I mean, any fucking game, any type of hustle, okay? Any type of business or industry. If you involve a lot of money, shit will get spooky, okay? It's not for the naive. Now, everybody usually starts out with good intentions. When you're hustling in the streets, right? Everybody starts out with good intentions. There's a lot of loyalty because when you have no money, or barely no money, right? Everybody is 100. Now, there's a ton of loyalty, but once there's a ton of money, people change, situations change, greed gets involved, and maybe even you change. Now, in the beginning, situations might come up, and you'd be like, nah, man, it's cool, man. Yo, forget about that. It's peanuts, because it's a little bit amount of money. You don't care that much about the money, because it's really not that much. But when it's millions, now it's a big fucking problem. Now, the saying goes, man, if money ain't changed you, you obviously haven't made enough. That's circa Curtis Jackson talking to Styles P on the phone at Hot 97. I cite my sources and give credit. But rich homie Quan, right? I mean, a few weeks ago, we heard big news. It was a big headline. It was like, yo, he becomes the first independent artist to top urban radio since 2006 with the big record Flex. If you don't know, that's the flexible nigga anthem. The all that shit, that neck twirling and that back bending, moist. Now, I will tell you this, okay? It's done pretty good on the charts. Actually, people love it, right? I mean, rich homie Quan might have a moist rendition of it, but we've seen Chris Brown swag it up and other people actually made that dance look cool. But it's moved over 300,000 singles. If you do simple math, like average about an album to be 10 records or so, that would be the equivalent of selling 30,000 albums with just one song. That's decent. Niggas is flopping left and right out here, right? Now, that's the single game, right? That's why some people don't even care about putting out albums or don't care if they flop, because you remember ringtone rappers, their whole game was putting out big singles, right? I mean, if you have a big single and nowadays you can't really predict it, because the internet picks not really you, so that's just the whole game. Okay, now, the game has changed because everybody realizes it's so easy to promote yourself with social media, to help out. Why even use a label? Now, it's even hard to predict or even actually correctly forecast who's independent or who's major. There's a lot of middle ground, and I'll tell you why I'm really explaining all this, because we got to have an understanding of what we're going to talk about before we talk about it, okay? Now, obviously, say, for example, I don't know, say Nicki Minaj, right? Like, listen, obviously, she is on a major label, which is Cash Money, which is pretty much Universal, right? Music group, big conglomerate, so she's clearly on a major. But then, everything else should be independent, right? But no, there's levels to this independent shit. Like, for example, right? Young Thug is technically signed to an independent record label that's called 300 Entertainment, but it's distributed by a major label, which is Atlantic Records, okay? So it's kind of like a mini major, okay? Now you have a rapper like Rich Homie Quan, that he kind of falls at the bottom of the spectrum. I mean, what he's signed to is a record label called Think It's a Game Entertainment, which is like pretty small. I mean, they only got a couple of artists. I mean, today their biggest artist is Rich Homie Quan. I think that Wife and Lucha, and also they have Trinidad James, but Trinidad James is nothing these days, right? Now, here's the thing, because Rich Homie Quan says the money is looking funny. Now, he filed a lawsuit against his record label claiming that the royalties, and that means payments for you guys who don't understand the lingo or the terminology, but pretty much he said, listen, the money or the payments that he should have received for his two biggest singles, and his two biggest singles are My Type of Way, remember that song? And also the flexible nigga anthem, Flex. He says somebody's skimming off the top, and he's blaming and pointing his finger squarely at the CEO. He says, and this is according to TMZ, that the CEO used some of the funds from those singles to buy a house for $159,000 and also even pocketed $550,000 from a distribution deal with Def Jam for Type of Way. So, hey, I mean, pretty much he's accusing people of being funny with the money, which you usually know what happens next, right? Basically, it's going to be a lot of legal battles, because if somebody starts stealing from you, you can't really work with them afterwards, right? I mean, you can't have somebody take money from you and not try to give it back, and then basically you continue on after you get it back, if you even get it back, like nothing happened. So The thing is this, man, because a lot of people want to be signed to a record label and everybody wants a record deal. That's like the thing that makes you the man, right? You come back to your hometown, you're the man because you got a deal, right? Even though you haven't had a song, but you got a deal, right? Now, I would advise everybody this, no matter if you sign to a major or you're independent. If you're independent with a group that's managing or really having a label for local artists, I would say this, have somebody around, and this is just for you personally, that's either somewhat of an accountant, and this is if you're getting money. If you're not getting money, it really doesn't matter. To be honest, I would say keep your name off paperwork if you're not getting money, okay? But I would say this, right? Number one, you want to get an accountant, you want to get a lawyer. That's it. You want an accountant to make sure money is flowing correctly and the money that you're supposed to get, you're getting. And you want to make sure you have a lawyer that all the technical terms that might screw you over in the future, you completely understand before you sign. And also they could iron out all the kinks and you could probably negotiate a little bit. So I would probably suggest those, but listen, a lot of times these entertainers, they don't even believe in themselves or they don't take themselves that serious or don't even think that far. They just want a foot in the game. They sign anything. Who knows? As I said, it's easy to say this guy, Rob Rich, homie Quan, but I've not seen the contracts. I don't know what agreements they might have had. Maybe the guy is within his rights to take whatever money. Maybe he put money into investing and promoting Rich homie Quan, and that's the money that he took is actually just him recouping. Who knows? But that's the reason why, to avoid these situations, you always got to make sure you keep a handle on the money. This is the music industry, and it's 95% business, and it's 5% music. So get in the comment box. Make sure you guys like, definitely subscribe. It's your boy, the Akademiks, man. I'm out.